Well, hello again. I know it's been a while since my last video, but hey, still working on getting that new camera, and I finally got my desktop set up near the work table here so that I could more easily do videos. And I've actually had a couple of requests that were bass related, and so I thought I would do a video specifically on basses. Okay, so what I have here are some War Machine minis. These are specifically Retribution of Syra miniatures. I've got some Battle Mages, and I've got Nail, who's a special character, and I'm going to do some basic pre-paint base work, and I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to specifically concentrate on using Putty and Cork for doing these bases. So I think to start with, I'm going to do one of the Battle Mages. And so to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and get him glued to this base. And I'm not going to set him. Oh, good, he doesn't want to get set all the way in anyway. I'm going to leave a gap. I'm not going to bring his feet down all the way to the plastic. So if you can see that, there's a little bit of the tab sticking up. And then I'm going to take some of my handy zip kicker here, and that'll make that set immediately. Alright. Got a little bit of a chunk of plastic sitting there. Alright, so now that that's set, I'm going to take some of this two-part putty. Now I'm using Magic Sculpt, and Magic Sculpt you can get online. I'll leave a link in the description. But you can do this with green stuff. I prefer Magic Sculpt for this type of work because this stuff works a little bit more like clay. Has a little bit more of a natural feel to it, and when you work it, you can do more. I keep saying natural, but do more sort of organic things with it than I feel like you can easily do with green stuff. Another putty that's like this is Milliput, if you've ever seen that before. It's that one's been around for a long time. Magic Sculpt, not so much. I really should be wearing gloves for this. These epoxy putties are one of those things you probably don't want to get too much on your skin. So if you're working with it a lot, best to wear gloves while you're mixing it. Alright, I hope that's going to be enough. Now, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to break off some chunks and get it onto the base. I got my little sculpting tool here, and I'm just going to stuff doesn't want to stay. I'm going to just work this down onto the base. By the way, I just wet my tool so that it wouldn't stick to the tool. So I'm going to work it down onto the base itself, and then up under the feet. And the reason I left that gap there was because I didn't want his feet to sink under the lip of the base. It's just purely aesthetic thing on my part. Now certainly not every base that you're going to do is going to be like this. This is probably my kind of my standard simple base. It's just working with putty and maybe a little flock and maybe a little maybe little extras on top of that. But at my most basic, this is probably what I'm going to do, is something like this. Alright, so I just got essentially created an even height for the putty under the feet using this tool, which is, I call it the moosher. It mooshes. It's the technical term for it. It probably needs to be a little bit more underneath that foot. Now I have I've done a couple of these minis, not the Battle Mages specifically, but a couple of the Retribution of Syra minis recently, and so I'm going to follow the basic concept of what I did with them on these Battle Mages so that I can have some consistency. Alright, so from here you could just take the tool and start sculpting in, you know, whatever details you want to add. You don't want to smooth this out too much because ground is going to have some undulation and some variation to it. But what I am going to do right now is, this is cork, by the way, one of the things I wanted to talk about. And one of the things you can do with cork, aside from using it as a basing material in itself, is you can use it as a texture tool. So this is what I've been doing to my other bases, and I'm essentially just stamping the cork texture right onto the putty, and that gives a nice natural broken ground look. Without too much work. You know, you can just break off a chunk and pat it down onto there, and you'll get something that looks fairly natural. You want to make sure that you're moving the piece around because you don't want to see repeated patterns. And you can always, you know, move to a different spot or break off a new piece if you feel like you're not getting enough of a natural look. Alright, so that would be a basic, simple base using the putty. Now you could then maybe take some of this this cork and stick it right on there. I'm going to put it on right here. Well, I want to break it down a little smaller. The cork naturally looks like kind of a weird rock formations, so you can just stick it right on there, mush it down into the putty, and you got a rock, and you can do as much of that as you want. Or you can take your, I'll set this putty aside so I can do some of the other ones. You can take your cork, I can't pick these things up. Alright, that one also needs to be shaved down a bit. Take your cork, and then you get a pen. Just so you have a rough guide of how much cork you need. There's my line there. You can see it wasn't super important that I get it exact. Alright, so I'm going to build up something a little bit more. Here, I'll even stick this in here. We'll use the putty as an adhesive. Alright, so I'm just going to stick this right on here. And see how it's kind of hanging over the edge. And it's got a really nice rock look to it. Now I don't want it to hang over quite that much, so I'm just going to start breaking off chunks of this. And then we'll not too bad. This is sort of a do-it-by-feel kind of operation where you just kind of keep going until you like how it looks. And I think I'm okay with that. It's got a little bit of excess putty there. Now the interesting thing about this, the cork, is that if you leave this surface as is, it really makes an interesting, has an interesting look when it's painted. But one of the other things I'll do, let's say I was doing a sci-fi mini and I wanted this to look like asphalt. You could take some sandy paste and just smooth it over the top of that, and then this looks like, when it's dry, you can paint it up to look like broken asphalt or concrete, and it's a very, very convincing look, and I've done that a lot, and I like it quite a bit. Alright, but we still need to mount our mini. And now one of the other things I really like about cork is that it's very easy to work with. So I've got nail here, and I'm going to put him, I want to put him in about like that. I think that would be good. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to mark off about where the tab is on his foot. You could just take the tab off, drill a hole, and pin him in there, but I am lazy and I would rather not do that if I don't have to, and I find this process a lot simpler than drilling and pinning, and it will also be far, far, far more robust in terms of holding him in if you can just use that slot for the purpose it was intended to be used for. So I am going to just dig a trench into this cork that will hold that tab. And there we go. Look at that. I don't even need to glue it and it's already staying, but I'm going to glue it. So he is going to look fabulous on there. Alright, in fact, right now we are going to go ahead and, let me see, let me get him set so he is standing up straight. And I'm just going to throw some glue down onto the tab. And that's going to dry almost immediately because of the porous nature of the cork. But just in case, throw a little bit more zip kicker on there because it never hurts to use a little zip kicker. And then in order to disguise the tab there, I'm going to find that excess putty that I had laying around here somewhere. Alright, so I'm going to take some of the remaining putty here, and just going to take a little bit of it, and I'm going to use that to disguise the rest of that tab. And get it underneath his foot, so his foot is actually fully standing on the surface instead of slightly floating above it. I don't want too much of this stuff spread out here because I really do want the look of the cork surface. I don't want this to be concrete. Alright, but that could just be some dirt down there. There's a lot of stuff you can do when you finally get to the paint part of this too. Man, that is really sturdy. Okay, and now that that's done, and again I can go back with some of my, let's get that putty out of the way, and go back with some of my little excess cork bits here. Glue, little piece of cork, and we're just going to glue that in, and then I can tear it up and bring it down to wherever I want. But again, just to sort of break up that surface so it's not so flat there, and it looks a little bit more natural. Here, we can already get rid of some of this. This is good. Get rid of that flat top piece. Yeah, this cork, by the way, is meant to be used for like bulletin boards, and this I get in little, I think they're like 8-inch squares, and I bought one pack, and it's lasted me for like 2 years. So a little bit goes a long way, I guess, unless you're doing an entire army like this. Alright, so he looks really good. Now this is of course just pre-paint, right? So once painting is done and they're all complete and you're ready to finish doing stuff on there, you can do more to accentuate it. You can add things like leaves or twigs or cool flocking. I really like using natural sand, and in fact I might, you know what, I'm going to do some of that right now. This is actually like playground sand that you can get from your local Home Depot, which is exactly where I got mine. And what I'm going to do is to add a little bit more of a natural feel to this. I'm just going to lay down some super glue. I don't always use super glue for this. I'll sometimes use paint, or I'll use matte medium or tacky glue, white glue. Oh, that's going to look nice. And again, just creating sort of a different texture, breaking it up so it doesn't look too 2 regular, 2 flat. Alright, that's going to be cool. Alrighty. So that's it. I just really wanted to cover some basics and some of the things that I do on a normal basis with my minis to do their bases, and a couple of the materials that I use. And again, there will be links in the description. If you don't see the links immediately, just do the show more button, and the description will grow and you will see more things. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and again, as I always say, if you liked the video, please like the video, and if you wanted to make sure that you see more of my videos in the future, be sure to subscribe. And that's it for now, and I will talk to you all later.